As a student, I failed a lot and I didn't know how to study. In my first sit of A levels, I got CDD and I didn't get into university, and that was like the first wake up call for me. So what's going on? I'm Sid and I'm a second year medical student. In a single year, I went from CDD to AAB. In this video, I'll teach you how I did it, because I was once that student who didn't even know how to study. I'll teach you the 4-step framework I use when it comes to studying, and this is what you can also do. The first thing you want to do before you actually get started studying is to actually know what the examiner expects of you. What I mean by this is to find the syllabus for your specific subject. Literally just like have a read through it. What you want to do with the syllabus is to either print it out or download it onto your computer and use it as a reference point. The goal with the syllabus is to use it as a checklist. So each time you go over a topic, you can simply just check it off on the syllabus list. This makes sure that you've covered literally everything there is for that one subject. Okay, so now you've got the syllabus, and now what you need to do is actually get started with studying. So what do you do? So the first thing you do is open up the syllabus and look at the first point. Now, what I recommend is if your syllabus is split up into like different sections, for example, there's topic 1 with 10 points, and then there's like topic 2 with 15 and topic 3 with another 10, like so on and so forth. Then you want to just cover the first few points of each topic as you're going along. What I mean by that is, if today, like you sat down and you're doing topic 1, like the first point of topic 1, tomorrow you're not going to do topic 1, like point 2, you will do topic 2.1, and you just keep doing that until you come back to topic 1 again, and now you can start the second point of topic 1. Now, this is a way better approach to like studying for exams, because instead of knowing just all of like topic 1 in detail, like in insane detail, and then moving on to topic 2, like completing all of that, then going on to topic 3, like it's way better to have like a broader understanding of all the other like topics in your subject. Because if you imagine like you have the exams in 2 weeks from now, what's going to benefit you more? Either knowing, you know, a little bit about every single topic, or knowing a lot, like in insane detail of just one topic. Okay, so now you know like where to get started. Let's say you picked the first point of topic 1. Now you've got like a specific point. Here I'd suggest either use a textbook or use your teacher's PowerPoint slide. Normally I would use a mix of both just to help myself understand the concept, because the teacher would explain certain parts or certain concepts in a better way for you to understand. I'd suggest use a mixture of the two. So next is understanding the information and how to do that. So what is understanding the information? That's simply how well can you understand the information. If someone were to ask you a question about the concept you're studying, and you know they ask you loads of different questions, your ability to answer those questions and get them all right, that shows your level of understanding. So how can you understand information better? Let's say you're opening your A-level biology textbook and you're going over a topic like action potentials. So the first thing you do is read it once. After you read it once, the next thing you want to do is just go over it again and go over the things that don't make sense to you. So if you're reading like a certain sentence and in your mind you're like, okay, like what is this talking about? Make note of that. So for example, let's say it's talking about how neurotransmitters move across the synapse for like action potentials to be generated. Now in that sentence, if you don't know what a neurotransmitter is, or you don't understand anything about it, then I'd suggest open up Google and like have a look through Google to see, you know, what if you can find your answer on what it is. Now I do this for everything, because the thing is, when you understand something, it's that much simpler to actually remember it when it comes to exams. Because the number one thing is not to rely on your memory alone. Always make sure that you understand the concept before like trying to remember it. So I want to make a quick side note about note taking. Now for me personally, I think that note taking is completely useless and a waste of time, because all you're doing is literally rewriting what the textbook is saying, like in your own words. Like it's not really helpful, plus it's like a huge waste of time. I'll talk a bit more about what sort of things you should be doing to actually, you know, make better use of your time. I know that's something very controversial to say, but it's true, because the reason why I failed my A-levels mostly in part was because I used to make all these beautiful fancy notes with like everything was handwritten and highlighted, and it just doesn't work. Like it looks nice and fancy, but it just doesn't actually like get you the grades you want. So anyway, the key takeaway from this step is to actually try and understand. Now this is where teachers are actually very, very useful. So if you don't understand something, I think it's really, really worth staying behind after class and just going up to your teacher and asking them like, hey, like I don't really understand this, can you explain this to me, because it just doesn't make any sense. So what are some of the best ways to understand? Now my personal favorite is having a whiteboard and a pen. So I'd read through the textbook and I'd try my best to understand it. So I would simply draw out diagrams on the whiteboard whiteboard and I'd annotate the diagrams, and I would just write out everything I can remember. And that helps me understand, because it's like taking it from my mind and put it onto paper, and anything I miss, I can just go back to the textbook, go over it again, and like do that whole process again. That really helps me understanding information. Okay, so let's say you've understood the information and now you actually just need to remember it. So how can you remember it? You know, you've got your exam coming up and you need to revise this. So what are the best ways to remember the information you've just learned and understood? You simply create flashcards on that information. So let's use the example we used earlier about action potentials. On one side, you literally write a question or a prompt, and on the other side is an answer. I don't really like writing questions or things like that. I prefer to just write prompts, because for me, I find them more useful, but you can do whatever you want. For example, on one side, you could say role of neurotransmitters in action potentials, and that's going to serve as the prompt. And then on the other side is the answer. So the answer is something like neurotransmitters move between the synapse and they bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. That's literally how you make a flashcard, and it's that easy. Do you see what I mean? So all of that is essentially the bread and butter of understanding how to actually study for an exam. So what tools can you use to make flashcards? Now, I personally use this app called Study Smarter. It's my favorite app, and I've used Anki and Quizlet in the past, but I just don't really like Anki's interface. Like, it looks really old and, you know, it's quite boring. And for me, Quizlet doesn't have the spaced repetition feature in it, so I don't really use that. So for me, it's Study Smarter. It's completely free, and I'll link it in the description below. I wouldn't recommend using paper flashcards, and the reason why is because they get lost, they get damaged, and it's just like a lot of faff to deal with all of that. Keep it simple and use the app. Again, I mentioned this spaced repetition feature of the Study Smarter app. Now, what this is, it literally just automates the whole study process for you. Basically, depending on how well you got the answer right, that will predict when you will see the card next. So let's say you opened up your flashcards and you were reviewing your flashcards and you got it right. 3 days later, the app will notify you and say, hey, like, you need to review this card again. If you keep getting it right, what the app will do is your next review will probably come in 7 days. And if you get it right in 7 days time, it will come back to you in 2 weeks, like so on and so forth. Over time, what this does is it essentially moves the information you've learned and it solidifies it from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, which is, you know, what you want as a student, because obviously you want to learn all of this for your exams and actually revise effectively. And this is the problem with paper flashcards. You can't do this spaced repetition. I mean, yeah, of course you can, but it's not actually tracked for you. Like, this app automates the whole process. So unless you're manually writing out like when you need to review certain topics, it's a bit of a faff. So just stick to the app. It's way better. Great. So now you know how to study and you've got the basics down. The most important thing is to understand the information and to remember the information. You see, it's not that hard. Before you know it, it'll be results day. You open up your envelope and you'll see your A's and your A stars, and you'll be so happy that you got into university. If you did enjoy this video, drop a like and subscribe. It helps out a ton with getting the video out there. I want to mention that I wrote a free guide on my top 3 productivity hacks that you need to know, and I think it will be really helpful for you as a student. It's completely free, so if you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description below. Also, before you go, if you find yourself struggling with study techniques and like the whole student life and experience, and you're looking for like a holistic approach to studying, not just academics, but how to actually like improve your entire life, from discipline to habits to willpower, motivation, that sort of stuff, and, you know, learning how nutrition affects your performance in exams, or maybe you're dreaming of studying medicine at university, you can book a free 15-minute call with me and we can go over some of your aspirations, like why you're feeling stuck and how I can best help you. If you're interested, you can learn more about my Medic Guide school that I'm creating right now. Hopefully it will be done in the next couple of weeks or so, like fingers crossed. You can register your interest in it below, so I'll link it all in the description below, so check it out. That's all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.